Ukraine played sides with many different places. So Ukraine needs help. However, in this conflict, I don't think there is a black and white. There's a no, right now in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, there's no real good guys and there's no real bad guys. I mean, it's very muddy what's going on. Both sides had atrocities. Both sides misled each other. So it's a very complex. And if you manage to read my next book, I try to describe the historical basis, because to me, the action of any country is based on what happened before. And Americans' naivety about what's going on, because they do not know. They not know the history very much. You know, American history is interesting, but it's short. But if you look at European history, it's long. And there's a lot of, how many of you know what Wales means? What the word Wales? Huh? So Wales in England, do you know what it means? Huh?
W-A-L-E-S.
No. The Wales as an area. So Wales is actually a Saxon word that means outsider. So Wales, people from Wales actually were original inhabitants of Britain Islands, and were pushed by Saxons to that corner, and Saxons called them outsider. So it's very interesting how the winners write the history. Whoever wins writes the story, and I would like people to know what really happened, what led to that problem. Yes.
So, if we were going to recommend this book to someone who reads the genre a lot, so you mentioned two key differences. From the perspective of a KGB agent, the authenticity of the details. What would be the third kind of selling point? Like for my stepdad who collects Russian guns and
a lot of guns.
Yeah, a lot of guns.
I'm actually a vintage gun collector, and just about every gun in the story I own.
Yeah.
So there's also another selling point of this is I think the story about Afghanistan war. There's actually a situation there that most people don't know. So I think it's an interesting, from my standpoint, everybody knows about Vietnam. Everybody knows what happened in Kuwait. Most of us know what happened currently in Baghdad and in Afghanistan. But not too many people know what happened to Russians when they tried to invade this country. United States should have learned from their experience. And the tactics that they used did not work. And the casualties were high, and level of treatment of Russian prisoners was pretty bad. So if you read this, there was atrocities on both sides. Russians, Soviets treated Afghanis, they killed over 500,000 Afghanis. But the way Afghanis treated the Soviet prisoners, there was no Geneva Convention there. So that story actually talks about that. So I think it's an interesting window into something that happened, but people should know about it. If you don't learn things, you repeat them and you make the same mistakes. That'd be my selling point.
Yeah.
Except I think it's a lot of gratuitous violence.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering if you have any insight on the Malaysian Airlines plane getting shot down, whether or not it was actually Russian soldiers shooting Ukrainian territory, and if it was a mistake.
We will never know. So that happened to be, whoever side you're on will have a very plausible story what happened. I have no idea. And I think it's very sad that all this tragedy is politicized. So nobody will ever know. I mean, who pulled the trigger? Was it the Russian-supported insurgents? Was it Ukrainian commander who commanded that? I mean, unless you have documentation, you will never know. Some things will never be known. And that's why I like to write the books with explanations, my theory of what really happened. Like in this book, the ending of the book is a historical event, but it's my explanation what happened. I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Is this your second book or first?
So it's technically second book, but it's in reality it's a all same story. So Double-Edged Sword that I took from my previous publisher was supposed to be out of print, but it's still sold. So I took that book and I rewritten 5 chapters, put a new character in, and it was republished on a limited basis with Vince, and it's a much better book. It's significantly more information, and it's also, I think it's much more educational. If you actually can we can refer to maps and photographs and learn more about it. I think it's a beautifully designed book.
So Double-Edged Sword is in addition to.
Yeah, so Double-Edged Sword is still sold on Amazon against my protests. And it's the same story, but it doesn't have the 5 new chapters, new characters, and the edition. Huh?
How do you get those enhanced?
How did I get enhanced?
How does one purchase the enhanced?
It's right here.
Okay.
Today, Vince is offering for a very special price. You know, those books, books are expensive these days, but today it's a special price if you're interested. I'm not selling the books. He is a salesperson. I'm the author. But I think it's a cool collector edition.